So we had a really bad argument one evening, and then she was yelling and screaming, and then she threw the bedside table at me. I never thought that I would ever say that I had experienced abuse of some sort. I felt really disempowered at that time. A friend of mine had said, let's just do something lah. So we went for Muay Thai classes together, and that was the start of it.
Grace is the founder of NeueFit, BJJ Muay Thai and fitness gym that's redefining what it means to train, grow and connect. At NeueFit, Grace has created a space where fitness is not just about physical strength, but mental resilience as well.
I found Jiu-Jitsu by accident. I was in a gym that had Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. One of the things that one of my seniors at that time in the gym had taught me was to learn how to breathe. Discomfort, just breathe through it. Keep calm, just breathe through it. It turned out being a really important lesson in life. All of these external things like learning these martial arts actually did help me. They helped me cope when things felt insurmountable.
How do you see all of this actually translating down to now NeueFit?
It's because of this. I lead them with kindness. Everybody has their struggles, have their life. Coming in, sometimes they just want to talk, just want to forget about their troubles outside and just create this safe space for them. Just play and be themselves.
I believe that there are some who has maybe some self-esteem issues. They feel that they are afraid of going to the gym because they might get judged and so on and so forth. What would you say to them to bridge that gap?
All right, everyone, welcome to episode 12. Today we have a very special guest whom I'm just about to introduce. All right, Grace is the founder of NeueFit, a BJJ Muay Thai and fitness gym that's redefining what it means to train, grow and connect. At NeueFit, Grace has created a space where fitness is not just about physical strength, but mental resilience as well. Right, and there is, of course, also self-expression and empowerment. And I think you mentioned before to me that martial arts and fitness are just tools to build confidence and break stereotypes. And you're here to foster a supportive community, right? And I think at your gym, you also believe that everyone deserves a second chance, right? And your team exemplifies this belief, and many have been transformed through their work and through their training at NeueFit. So welcome, Grace. Grace, would you like to introduce yourself to the camera first?
Hi, I'm Grace, and I'm the co-founder of NeueFit at Kallang Wave Mall.
Awesome. So, well, interestingly, I also had a little bit of background in martial arts. You mentioned you did too, right?
Well, it was a few trial classes. You consider that experience.
Okay, so I am curious to know, because I have my reasons for studying martial arts, and I got into martial arts kind of not because of I purposely went to look for it. Later on I did, but I actually got into martial arts because my school provided an avenue for it, right? During our PE lessons, and there was this belief that females should learn self-defense. So I got into martial arts. But how did you get into martial arts, and how did this story for you as a gym, martial arts gym founder started?
Okay, this is a funny story. When I was in school, in secondary school, bless young Grace lah, but she was also a bit weird, okay? But see, here's the thing. I was always kind of a bit out of place. And at the point when you're at that age, you're still sort of figuring out who you are as a person, sexuality, blah, blah, blah. And when I got to secondary school, I was bullied. And when my parents found out, bless them, they were like, oh, she needs to learn a martial art. So they put me in wushu. And I was like, Olympia's martial art, you could put me. I mean, it's pretty, but it cool factor is not there, right? Yes. Already, I was being picked on because not cool, right?
Oh, no.
Then I became even more uncool. I mean, they were great lah. They came with me to class. Like, they also learned it, because they knew my hesitations about it. So they tried. Yip Man was not cool yet. Sadly.
Yip Man is Yong Chu, it's not even
yes. But I mean,
at least there was some relation there, right?
Yeah, I see.
So that was my first brush with martial art. And then that kind of tapered off, and then I went through this period of actually being an entertainer. So I was in theater and I would sing and stuff like that. I explored that. And then in my 20s, explored living the life of this rock star,
What does the life of being rock star looks like?
Sounds very cool.
Yeah, it's all the things that you need to apologize to my mother for. I need to apologize to my mother for, like, sorry, mom. All the things that growing up she told me not to do lah.
I see.
But that was an interesting period of my life as well, right? There are no mistakes, there are only lessons. And I got into a relationship with someone who we had anger management issues, and we used to get into really bad arguments. And we're still friends, by the way. Hi, Jen. My best worst mistake, I call her.
Best worst. Nicely put.
But yeah, so we had a really bad argument one evening, and then she was yelling and screaming, and then she threw the bedside table.
Oh, wow.
At me.
How big was the bedside table?
Not very big, it was one of those small IKEA ones, but it was kind of shocking, Narrowly missed me, and then, the whole drama of being in your 20s, right? And then you cry, and then you pat your back, call my friend, and just that whole thing of feeling like that disbelief of that this sort of violence could actually happen to me. Although nothing actually happened to me, but it was that shock, right? Of wow, this real. And I felt really disempowered at that time. And a friend of mine had said, let's just do something lah. So we went for Muay Thai classes together, and that was the start of it. Further along and I did that for a fair number of years, just also stayed with Jen for a fair number of years. But there was that kind of pulled me along. Eventually, things with Jen didn't work out, and I moved to Melbourne. And the person that I moved for also didn't work out.
I see.
Very badly. I was like, fuck this lah, and then continued doing Muay Thai when I was in Melbourne, and then stumbled upon Jiu-Jitsu, and that was it. So that point in Melbourne was kind of really my lowest point for a very, very long time. Also because I was kind of disillusioned, starting to get disillusioned with my life, right? And that was when I realized, you know what? The problem is me lah. Fuck. I was like, I am the victim, not of consequence, but of the consequence of my own decisions. And, that was when I was like, I'm just going to slow down. I'm going to take a good look at my life, whatever that might look like, And I just focused on things that made me happy. And at that time, it was Jiu-Jitsu very heavily. And I had realized that, I was making decisions out of insecurity, fear, all of these things that were internal, right? Not that all of them were bad decisions. They were all important lessons for me. And when I look back, I cannot have my life now if that didn't happen to me. And then here I was, right? I had a master's in advertising and design, and this was what I was primed to do, right? From poly all the way, this is all I knew, and then it's hit the work, man.
So it was literally were you taking on any jobs at that point in time?
I was a freelancer just to pay my bills lah. But every time the job comes in, you're like, fuck this shit of these fucking shitty clients and their fucking shitty ideas. Fucking make this logo bigger, make that thing smaller, use this ugly color. You know?
Yeah.
I was really horribly unhappy. And I was like, am I having a midlife crisis?
How old were you when you had that?
I was like 28 years old.
Quarter life lah.
I don't know. I felt like a midlife crisis, man. I got a dog, a little puppy. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to focus on me. I need to fix me. Again, however that may look like.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was Jiu-Jitsu.
Wow.
I mean, here's the thing, right? About people, we're all different, right? So understanding that the way that we cope with things are also different. For some, this life-changing thing might be gardening, it's them zen and peace. For other people, it might be yoga, but for me, it was Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm sure that there will be other people who may think that Jiu-Jitsu is the vehicle to transform that or to help them on this inner journey.
Most of the time, people correlate martial arts to very physical aspects, though.
Yes.
Was it a physical transformation that led to or what was the thing that you're going?
I think just learning something new, being uncomfortable, learning to have beginner mindset was it's always uncomfortable, right? And I think growing through that discomfort was actually what helped me.
I see.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are all sorts of things, right, that you have to grow through when you start something new, right? The aches and the pains and, even the inner dialogue of, damn it, I suck at this.
Yeah.
But then being kind to yourself and saying, oh no, it's only your second class, dear. Calm down. Calm the fuck down. You're fine. Just growing through those things and having those experiences where you grow through those things are so transferable in life. Right? You hit a roadblock, you can't just say, oh, see lah, so stupid. Right? You learn to be kind to yourself, talk kindly to yourself, to say, yeah, this training wasn't great. What could I have done better? Well, like Jiu-Jitsu is so close contact. So close contact. Even when I first saw it, so I found Jiu-Jitsu as an accident, by accident.
Okay.
I was in a gym that had Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. And I lived about 25-minute bike ride away. And I would cycle there. And one day I read the schedule wrongly. I read it wrongly. And I thought I was going for a Muay Thai class, but it was a Jiu-Jitsu class.
So you ended up...
And then I was like,
right.
oh yeah, I don't want to cycle 25 minutes back and then come back later. But then there's nothing in this suburb to kill time. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'm just going to try it. And then, because most of the time I'm like, these people rolling around each other in pajamas. Like,
In pajamas. That's a great analogy.
like, very fun, man. Like, it didn't appeal to me. Just watching it didn't appeal to me. I'm like, you're just hugging each other. It's so gross. But then when I tried it, I was like, oh, actually very fun, so I found it by accident.
Yeah.
And so anyway, back to being in close contact. And one of the lessons that I had from it was learning to calm myself down. Because when somebody's in your space and very close contact, it used to make me feel very anxious.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But now, not that I don't have personal space, I still do. If you see me on the street, please, personal space. It's important. But I didn't feel as anxious anymore as when I first started. One of the things that one of my seniors at that time in the gym had taught me was to learn how to breathe. He said, discomfort, just breathe through it. Keep calm, just breathe through it. It turned out being a really important lesson in life.
Yeah.
Just keep calm and breathe through it. Like, you know, there's no point being angry at yourself or frustrated. It makes it even worse, you know. So these are all lessons which I've learned through the vehicle of Jiu-Jitsu.
I think that's really beautiful, right? Because oftentimes, I mean, we don't go through physical challenges as much, right? But oftentimes, if we have a mental block or we have something that we feel, we cannot get through it, it feels very taxing on our soul
or like insurmountable, you know?
Yeah, correct. Then we usually don't think about the physical. How do we react bodily, right, in order to get through it?
Yeah.
They become so tense out, and of course, all types of sicknesses and illnesses actually manifest from there.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. Recently, we have been studying neuro-linguistic programming. And inside it, we also learn one thing, which is our body systems are connected.
Yeah. And your brain, you can actually bullshit you into doing all kinds of things.
Exactly, right? So your inner world, or your thoughts, your feelings, they will affect your external.
Yeah.
And your external will also affect your internal. So interestingly, a lot of people think that it is about, for example, me telling myself, okay, I got to do this. I got internal script. I can power through this, for example, which is true. But actually the physical part can also change your inner state as well. Right? Which is what I think a lot of people don't consciously realize.
Yeah, you know, and when I look back at my youth, I realized actually I've had signs of like depression for a long time, but never diagnosed,
is it?
Or like never, it was never a thing, right?
Yeah.
At that time.
Not for some time ago lah.
Not for my age group.
So specific.
At the time. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It really wasn't, you know. And here's my mom, right, who is also a very tough woman. So she's the suck it up generation, right? So, you know, even then, like, she already looks at me like this soft, creative child. You know,
who knows a bit of wushu.
Yeah, she background is she owns her own company, and I mean, in that time, for a lady to own her own company was almost unheard of lah. And in a sphere like engineering was really
engineering company.
Yeah.
Oh,
male dominated sphere as well.
You know, so my mom is not to be trifled with.
I'm sure.
But here is this creative, soft, sensitive child that she birthed, and she doesn't know what to do with. You know, and I mean, my friends love it. They love it when I tell stories about my mother, because then it will be things like, yeah, you know, and this actually only just happened last year, okay? So when I was having a really bad day, and then I went back to my mom's place, I sat on her kitchen floor, and then was like, she was just doing her stuff, and then I'm sitting there at the corner of the kitchen on the floor, and I'm telling her, and then I'm crying. And then my mom just looks at me and she goes, why are you like that? Bad genes, is it?
Oh no.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, yes. So it kills a little bit that, like, you know, I'm this soft, sensitive child lah, you know. So, I mean, obviously, if it's like, we're very different in that way, you know. So I've always had to find various ways to cope, because I didn't know back then there were no words for these things, right? You only just go to Sengkang Chalet and then you are just branded crazy for life, right? So, you know, better don't, right? Just kind of
Live through it.
Work through it, yeah, in whatever way that you can.
Yeah.
Now there's therapy, so yay therapy. But yeah, I mean it. So when I look back on my life, all of these external things like learning these martial arts actually did help me. They helped me cope when things felt insurmountable
I see.
before I learned to breathe through discomfort.
Right.
You know, before I learned to come back after a bad day.
So I'm interested to know, right? Because now you're in this martial arts and all that, and you were in advertising,
That's right.
right? From advertising
Yes.
to owning a gym.
Yes.
Quite a fast stretch.
That's right.
Right. So then, being in love with martial arts, I mean, it could have also easily been, you know, you take that as a passion, you do that on your free time. It helps you with your regular life, so to speak, right? But why gym? Like, what then pushed you from just being involved in martial arts to actually running a gym? And you've run many gyms as well, not like
Yes.
just this one as well. Right.
So, 12 years ago. 12 years ago, I started my first gym with some friends called Trifecta. And they were friends that I made when I was training at Evolve. After I came back from Melbourne, and then I found a gym. I was trying to find gyms. And then at that time, when I first came back, it was either Evolve, the mega gym, or like the small dingy shop house gyms that like very smelly. Then so we kind of felt like there was a gap for something kind of mid-range. And then we were like, yeah, wouldn't it be so cool if we could do it? So they asked me, and then I said, okay. And that was it. 12 years later, I still own gyms.
Wow. So how many do you open up then, since then?
At that time, we had 3 branches. And then later, I left that business, and then I started NeueFit on my own. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Wow. That's a whole journey there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious to hear a bit more, maybe not at the business level yet, but back to your story, right? Or rather your first tipping point, right? So at that moment where your friend, right, did that launch, the throw of the
Yes.
furniture,
Yes.
right? Could you describe what it felt for you back then?
I felt scared. That was the first one. I felt disappointed. Not so much in her, but more myself.
Oh.
How come?
My first thought was, what would my mother think?
Oh, wow.
Like, that she raised me to be so old. Okay, like at that time I wasn't old, I was only early 20s, okay? But at that time when you're in your early 20s, you feel very old already, life is going to end.
It's true though.
Friends, life does not end at 25. So at that time, you know, I sort of felt like, oh, wow, if she knew, she would really think I'm useless. Yeah, that was, I felt disappointed in myself for being in that position.
Having put yourself in the position.
I never thought that I would be in that position. Like, I never thought that I would ever say that, oh, I had experienced abuse of some sort.
So you were shocked.
Yeah.
You were shocked to even think that this would happen to you.
Yes.
Wow.
Was there any like form of resistance or like thought of defense or anything like that?
No, soft creative child lah. Immediately after the thing broke, then I cried lah.
See.
Yeah.
But it wasn't on purpose, I suppose. It was out of fit of anger.
Yes, but still purpose lah.
I see. Wow.
She was a thrower. She was a hurler.
Hurler for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just that previously it was smaller items, not so much.
So it wasn't the first time.
Yes.
That was like one of the biggest ones.
Yes.
I see. I mean, because we spoke with psychologists previously as well, and then they were talking about family violence, toxic relationships, and abuse cases. So, I mean, we speak to psychologists, right? We never speak to the victims. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to hear a bit more about your experience so that those who are suffering the same can relate with your story and maybe see a light at the end of the tunnel.
I mean, I wouldn't say that this is very bad. For sure, there are other people who have it way worse, who've had it like way, way worse, right? And if those people are listening, you need to leave lah. You know, you need to look after yourself. You need to find a way to be confident enough to say that you mean something. You know, so like I said earlier in this conversation, I still stayed in that relationship.
For how long?
From that point, I think it was an additional maybe about almost 2 years.
Wow, that was a long time.
Yeah, but more and more, she didn't scare me anymore.
I see.
So you walk out of it yourself?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Martial arts was already before that, right?
Yeah, so after the hurling, then I started going for Muay Thai. Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean also just being in a new environment and making new friends, and like that really helped as well. You know?
Yeah.
And I think it's a very interesting concept. So share this little story. So my ex-business partner had 3 kids. The middle child, we found out that he was bullied in the school bus. So it was the older sister who told us. Okay. And when we asked him, we said, hey man, why didn't you do anything or whatever? And he said, yeah, you know what? I knew that if he tried to hurt me, I can defend myself. And I knew that if I didn't control myself, I could hurt him.
Wow.
Yeah. And
So
I was like,
they had the knowledge to stand up against.
And I was
the
like,
violence.
huh? I mean, a primary school boy who had been doing martial arts for years,
Yeah.
to have that sort of understanding was really amazing to me, because it really shows you the power of what it does. Like when you have that inner confidence of, yeah, if there was any danger, I can protect myself. So therefore, I shouldn't be worried about him. And I'm just going to control myself and I don't want to throw the first punch or whatever because I'm going to hurt somebody.
Wow. So there's so many layers to unpack. And a primary school boy, how old was he?
I think he was mid-primary school. He wasn't very, very old.
Wow, that's very mature for the age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The amount of control there is exceptional.
So, I mean, it's very funny because then like parents will ask us, oh, but then if we send our child for martial art lessons, you know, will they become a bully and things like that? So I always share this story with them. And I think it's a perfect story because it really shows you what happens when your inside is calm, when your inside is, you know, not, I wouldn't say not broken. We're all broken in some way or other. But
not easily agitated.
Yeah.
Or like easily
Triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So you talk about this thing called inner strength, which I think is a very interesting concept, right? So what in your understanding, or how do you see this thing called inner strength?
When you can be kindest to yourself.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. We always find it easier to be kinder to other people. The most difficult to be kind to ourselves. But when we're not kind to ourselves, we betray ourselves. When we betray ourselves, we make terrible decisions. And having the strength to say, no, I need to have certain boundaries. Just like how I came in with my half-eaten sandwich because I know I get hangry and I'm nicer when I'm full. But it's not easy to recognize that. And it's not easy to give in to that. Because we're always like, oh, but society expects this. Or like, oh, I need to do this for the other person, think of the other person. Not saying be a selfish brat lah. There's a difference, okay? There's difference. But choosing to look after yourself as well as you look after other people is important.
It's a very surprising answer to me because I would think inner strength comes from inner power. It's kind of like similar, right? Strength and power and forces. But what you mentioned is how to be kind to yourself, which is the extreme side of things. How to be, to me, it's about being gentle, it's about being kind, it's about being nice to yourself. So that feels different, or it feels like the opposite.
Nice and kind are two different things though.
Well, actually, you're right. And maybe sharing a little bit also. Recently, I was told this story, right, about a gentle person actually has the greatest strength. And you can think about it from that point of view. If I say set down or put down something gently, if you don't have the strength to carry that, you cannot put down something gently. It's only with strength and control that you are able to set things down gently. Right. So I guess it is a little bit of allusion to that. Like the kindness that you can show yourself is actually the strength and control that you have also over your own person, whether it's internal or external.
I mean, a lot of things, sometimes when you see like very angry, explosive people, sometimes and then you just observe them and you realize they're not very happy. Therefore, they respond to things in that way.
Yeah.
If he or she focused on himself and maybe healed that part, would he or she be nicer to other people? That's the hope, right?
Yeah.
So these inner changes sort of reflect outward, and that really is the foundation of what NeueFit is for me.
Is there a meaning behind the name NeueFit?
It's actually a little nod to my designer past. My favorite font at that time was Helvetica New.
Oh, right.
I mean, German is Muay, but New is easier for understanding. And also, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I really like that font, and that's like a part of me. But also the idea that it's a new way of looking at things, a new way of looking at yourself, a new way of looking at fitness, new way of looking at your life, is important.
The idea of second chance.
Yes.
So can I ask, right, like if you look at things right now and your understanding of inner strength, back then when you were feeling depressed, right, what do you think was attributing to that sense of feeling?
I mean, clearly I've lived many lives, right?
I don't know. I mean, I heard of Rockstar, Osho.
That's right. I've lived many
Advertising.
iterations of my life, very different iterations of my life, right? Each time an iteration ended, I started a new iteration, right? And along the way, I think I kind of got lost, or kind of felt like I never really achieved the things I wanted at that time, or that I had failures or failings or during that time. So over time, I think that kind of wore me out, right? Of like not enoughness, of growing up being that strange kid with like minimal friends, being bullied, and then trying this, not working out, doing that, not working out, having this relationship not working out. And like, I thought each time that I was starting anew, all of that didn't matter anymore. But it was still there, kind of bubbling underneath.
Subconscious.
Yeah. It's that not enoughness.
Yeah. And based on your newfound understanding of inner strength and of course your practice in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, do you feel that that feeling kind of went away, or?
I don't think it ever truly goes away. But I think I now better know how to respond to these thoughts, to these feelings. Of course, there will be terrible days where, you're in the bathroom and why life sucks. But just being able to manage that, it's like talking to a friend, right? I learned to talk to myself like how I would my friend. You wouldn't scold your friend, right? Wow, you useless, you see you do all these things. You would never say that to your friend. You would never say that to your best friend, let's be real. So why are you saying it to yourself?
I see.
I was like, why am I talking to myself like that?
So hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Do you think it could be your mom's influence? Because she was kind of like lady boss.
Yes and no, but not because she made me feel that way, but it was more like, I want to be successful like my mom. I want to have it together like my mom. And then that was this unachievable God level, and then so that's why in my 20s I rebelled against that idea and then just went completely off the other end, because this was unattainable, so I'm just going to fuck all of it and just,
Go the other way.
yeah.
Just not the same route, so you cannot be compared.
Correct. That's right.
Oh, you have a very high level of awareness.
Over time, just reflecting on these things. And also over the years and over the different challenges or whatever they present themselves to teach you certain things, right? Also why I left my last business was because we differed in leadership styles.
Okay.
So there was a point where I had to question, who am I as a leader? Does the way that she wants to push it, does it resonate with me?
Yeah.
The same as how, if I tell my friends that, hey, this relationship is becoming toxic for you, you need to leave. I also needed to tell myself that, coach myself that.
I see.
So it's all these periods of questioning, right? So, like I said, sometimes you can't run away from these awful, terrible feeling things, right? Because those are the moments that really challenge you to sit down and ask those difficult questions that need to be answered. And the longer that you don't answer them, the bigger the problem is.
I see. So there'll be people who are watching this, they are in the midst of an abusive relationship or toxic relationship, right? What are the questions that they can ask themselves in order to coach themselves out of this?
Again, different people have different motivations. So for some, it's, what would my loved ones think? Am I disappointing my family? I don't want my sister who loves me so dearly to constantly be worried. For some other people, it might be fear of personal safety.
Yeah.
For some, if it's internal conflict, for example, things like, am I lovable? Will there ever be anybody else who loves me? Then this is something that they need to work through within themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because the answer is actually yes and yes lah. You are lovable and you will find somebody to love you. But you must believe it. Yes lah, when we are at that age or whatever, we also think that after this there will be no relationship for me. I will die alone with my dog or my cat. But one of the things that kind of helped me through it was remembering all the difficult things I went through and got through. Yeah. That was actually, I'll live. It'll suck for a while, but I'll live.
Yeah. What are some examples if you could share?
I really, really wanted a singing career.
Your rock star days.
Yes. And I had met somebody. I mean, I did the Mariah Carey starlet, right?
Oh.
Found somebody who was a producer and I know all of these people, I can help you. I really love you, that's why I want to help you. I believe in you. And then a recording contract came. It was a terrible recording contract. That went through a couple of times with the lawyer, and also one of those moments where I also had to ask myself certain questions about my values reading the contract, because then it was if you, things like, if you're on contract every time, and I was supposed to be based in Hong Kong,
Oh.
you would need like permission to go back or whatever. And I was like, it's kind of vague, this clause. Like,
Yeah.
anything? Like, what if my parents like deathly ill? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
there needs to be like certain
Exceptional clauses.
But there's nothing exceptional in here. They're like, oh no lah, of course this kind of thing we will let you go home. Then I'm like, then you put it there.
Put
lah.
it inside. Oh, yeah. Actually, you're very
Very
cognizant.
sharp, eh?
Yeah, because I'll imagine you were in the 20s, right? So someone who got a recording contract is like a big thing.
Your dream and
Yeah.
aspiration.
Emotionally compelling. I would think that anybody would just like, oh, yeah, understand. Sign the paper.
I'm an only child
I see.
that I am all my parents have. They are all I have. And being a gay person that does not want children, you are deathly aware that once your parents go, that's it, no. You essentially have no family. No matter your chosen family or whatever, you essentially have no family. You have no more generational ties to this world. That's it. It ends with you. And I think in my 20s, that awareness really was quite apparent to me. Right? And the idea that, I could be far away from my parents, if they ever really needed me, was unacceptable for me. Yeah, I rejected that contract. But anyway, so this person who like so loved me and wanted to help me with my young starlet dreams, so I found out that she had actually made a deal with this company and they paid her money for me.
Oh.
Yeah. And all of these things that were out of like goodwill and love wasn't true, lor. You benefited from
interest
me.
lah. Vested interest.
And then things got quite heated in the discussion with the recording company because then they were like, oh, who does she think she is? She's insisting that, and because my Mandarin is terrible, right? Shockingly bad. So, and I had left her to do the negotiations. And then I found out that she was pushing for her to be my manager.
Right.
Even though that was never my request. So there was a lot of like personal gain that she wanted to seek out from this. So I was so disillusioned by it lah. Yeah, so it was really one of those things that I felt disappointed in life by.
So you felt that she manipulated you for her own agenda.
Yeah.
Even though she claimed that she loved she loves your dreams
so
and she
all
loves
of
to
my
help
like
you.
idealistic dreams were just like vanished lah.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people argue that's part of adulting 101, right?
Correct, lor. Correct. So again, it's just one of those things that will happen in life. But again, in your 20s, you feel like it's the end of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it.
Yeah. But again, it was one of the great lessons of my life.
Yeah.
Because did it challenge me? Yes, it challenged me. It challenged me because I really needed to know what was important to me. I needed to know, can I really sign this? Is this more important than my values? Was a question that I needed to ask myself.
I see.
Challenged me.
So I think it's a very beautiful story, right? Because the no's that you said in your life shapes the person to become who you are today.
Yeah. I mean, and also in the grand scheme of things, when you look at it, have I had my share of bad moments? Yes. Have I had my share of bad circumstances? Yes. Have I had a bad life? No. Had a few bad days, but not bad life.
How do you define a bad life or a good life?
Am I happy with the person that I am now? Yes. Am I happy with my life now? Yes. It's not perfect. Nobody's life is perfect. It's not perfect. My life isn't perfect. But it's perfect for me.
I see.
I love that. I use that sentence a lot because I come to realize that perfection's overrated.
Yeah. but what might be perfect for me might not be perfect for you.
Because really everyone's definition of perfect is totally off from each other.
And I mean, if I had perfect life, that means no challenges, blah, 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 and whatever that I had shared previously, would I be here in this life that I'm happy with? No leh. I'll be somewhere else, some other version of me. Maybe some other version of me that if I were to see on the screen in front of me, maybe I'll be like, ee. Ee, who are you? Why are you like that?
I also picked up one thing just now that you mentioned that all those challenges that you have or all the no's that you're saying, actually you were very clear about your value system, which is something that is very interesting because I think that honestly a lot of, or maybe I shouldn't say for everyone, but at a young age also, to be very clear and cognizant of your values and to go and say, is this something that I truly value? Is it going against my value? Or is this something that, yes, is in alignment with my values? Then we go ahead with it. That is something that is not so easy to
Be clear about.
Yeah, and especially at a younger age, I think.
No, never really thought of it. I mean, for me, it was always just, does it feel right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doing the right thing for some reason was always a very big thing for me.